Hello, teachers, and welcome back to Teachers Help Teachers. With me today, I have three special guests, our students, some students who are currently, like many students all across the world, doing distance learning, right? And I thought the perspective of our students would be vital, important for us to hear from them because after all, aren't we doing this for them? So with me are three very important guests in my opinion, and I'm sure you agree with me. Elijah, I'm sorry, not Elijah. You're there. You will be introduced soon. Sorry, but with me first is Lindy Brody. Hi, Lindy.
Hi.
Lindy is a fourth grader and she loves to dance and she's currently working on her dance solo. She's hoping very much to be able to perform her solo in a month or two, and we hope so. We hope that you get to as well. And she loves playing with her friends and she loves hanging out with her family. And this is Isaiah Brody next to Lindy.
Hello.
Isaiah is an eighth grader, and he's very talented on the drums. He's in a jazz band, and he's also a filmmaker. In fact, he won the best middle school short film in climate change. It was a competition, and he submitted his short, and he won it. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And this is Elijah Yoon.
Hello. I usually don't like being this close to my mother.
But in this context, you're my guest.
Yes. And I shall address you as Mrs. Yoon instead of mother.
All right. And Elijah is currently a ninth grader, and he and Isaiah are both podcasters called the Worst Coast Children. It's an X-Wing podcast. And Elijah also is an athlete at his school. So everybody, welcome to the program. Yay!
Hello.
So Lindy, let's start with you. How are you? How's it going?
Good.
Isaiah. Isaiah, and you?
Well, I'm feeling good. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And Elijah, how are you?
I'm good. It's just usually I don't like being in tight spaces, especially with my own mother.
Again, in this context,
yes.
I'm your host. Okay. So let's talk about distance learning, everybody. What parts do you like about it? What parts do you dislike about it? Lindy?
Well, with online learning, there's advantages and there's disadvantages. Basically, one of the advantages are basically like you get to spend more time with your family, and for me personally, that's really helpful because a lot of the time my mom works late, and my dad's a teacher as well, so he had a lot of the times he's grading, and so being able to be with my family is very good. And then, of course, one of the disadvantages is I'm also somebody who likes to hang out with my friends, and that's hard when you don't live with them.
Of course. And how about you, Isaiah? What parts do you like and dislike about remote learning?
I like that we can do this, but I really don't. I really prefer the regular going to school over this, and I think a lot of people feel that way. Again, I don't want to speak for anyone, but I think it's really hard doing distance learning because miscommunication is a lot more easy to it's a lot more prone to happen while distance learning is happening.
Exactly, right? Because when you're face to face with your student from a teacher's point of view and from a student's point of view, or when you're working in groups, let's say, yeah, you're easily able to problem solve, communicate, correct some misunderstandings if there are any. And yes, I understand when there's that delay and lag, or maybe even an unanswered email because of a mistake. So I get it. I get that part. Elijah, how about you? What do you like and dislike
All
about
right,
remote learning?
all right. I'm going to sound like a dork, but I enjoy how we get to sleep in. I'm pretty sure I speak for the majority of the school community. But also, I'm a weird person, and I don't mind staying at home that often. So I mean, it's like I'm cool with staying at home, but I do agree. Teaching is optimal when you know you're in the same room with that person. Like it's simply not the same. It's just staring into a computer like this and listening to the teacher drone on. I mean, I do have great teachers that that does a good job, um, or that and they are they're great, but it's just yeah. Also, it's easier to cheese the assignments um
What do you mean,
like
cheese the assignments?
you have
Us grown-ups, we don't know what you're talking
okay,
about.
so cheese pretty much means to like not work as hard on assignments, but you you get an A anyway. Mainly because we have the internet like on our laps, and we can search up any test answers anytime. I just took an AP human. I just took an AP test on the computer, and like, and there are ways that you can make the test easier, even without cheating. So, I followed the letter of the law. I did not do anything illegal, but
Rules as written.
not the same online.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm hearing you say that you need to really pull from within to do your work with not integrity, but yeah, with integrity, but also doing your best. And I think it takes a lot of growth and maturity, right? And that self-discipline to try to do your best, right? Because no one's over there hovering over you, right? Do your best, or what are you doing? Or
Here's the thing, Mom. So a lot of teachers say that the goal with the grading system is to get your is to have your letter grade reflect, the amount of work you put in and, how well you understand the work. The problem with online learning is that sometimes like the work you turn in does not reflect the amount of effort you put in, or the way or how much you understand a certain subject.
And Eli, I think that is a different conversation that teachers need to have, but I'm glad you pointed that out to us. Isaiah, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that particularly around like tests and things like that, it's much easier because kids are a lot less supervised than they would be in school, and also I find that like a lot of times kids will just be doing assignments just to get them done and turn them in,
Mhm.
more of to like do the work and feel like why it makes sense.
You guys are both, and Lindy, I don't know if you agree with your brother and with Elijah, but what you guys are talking about is you want to learn. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You want to learn. You want to see why anything that you do is relevant instead of just busy work. And wow, what a thing to share, and what a great feedback that you both just provided for us teachers to consider, that we want to promote learning, not giving you a task and get to work and turn it in for some points. So thank you for that feedback. Lindy, which platform is your teacher using? And is it easy to use?
Well, for classes, like for going on to classes and talking with your teacher and and the students, we use Google Meet, and I think it's easy. It's pretty easy to set up and get to your classroom, and that's pretty easy. It's you can also use it for like very large things. Like we use it for our all school meeting on Fridays, and that's like the whole entire elementary school, and it works if you don't push the upgrades to a certain level.
Oh, okay.
And for like getting our assignments and finding where the Meet recordings are and the assignments, we use Google Classroom, which is also really easy to get through because they're organized by classroom and then classwork, assignments, stream. It's very easy and
Okay.
easy to get to.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. And what about you, Isaiah? What platform is being used?
So for getting into classes, before spring break, there was like a 2-week period where we went into remote learning before spring break, and we thought it might just be like after spring break, we're gonna come back to school. And I think a lot of kids were really sad when we weren't allowed to come back. But before that, we were using just Google Meet for everything, and it was working kind of well. Kids were still like having trouble getting on and stuff, but what really annoyed me coming back to break was what really kind of annoyed me was that some of the classes were now being held on Zoom. For instance, like for town halls were being held on Zoom, and I just feel like it feels kind of weird because it feels like we should be able to just use one platform, because and I think doing multiple platforms feels really weird and unnecessarily complicated.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. And Elijah, how about you? Which platform or platforms, as Isaiah pointed out, are being used?
So fortunately, my teachers use one universal platform, and that is Zoom.
Okay.
So I do have a lot of good comments to say about Zoom, but also some some things that are kind of negative. So overall, Zoom's perfectly fine. It does the job, and as long as you have the right security protocols, nothing bad should happen. I mean, I guess we all know like this nasty stuff people did on Zoom, and unfortunately, early on in the this is the negative stuff. Early on in the year, ninth grade freshmen aren't exactly the most mature people, and there was this one student that was impersonating one of my friends, and he was typing really nasty stuff in the comments. So
Sorry.
I mean, like there's so much we can do, but yeah, another reason why I don't really like remote learning.
You know, there's something that teachers are starting to do more and more as we enter the um, online learning and just learning in general. It's called digital citizenship, where students are taught and where they're taught to be good citizens on
Right.
internet, right? And so that's just an illustration of that's to the point of why we need more and more teachers, all of us, right, showing our students that you know, not only is it important to think critically, but as far as using technology to be a good citizen on it. So thank you for that illustration and that point. So if you could request anything of your teachers to do better during this time of remote learning, what would it be? Lindy?
Probably because we're used to being in like a classroom and we're next to our friends in the class, so we can talk to them while we're doing our assignments that are in class. So something that I probably would suggest was trying to like interact more with the students. Like maybe after class sometimes, maybe you stay there longer sometimes to just talk to them. Not always about classwork, but just talking and connecting. And something that my dance class has also done is like every week there's a new theme, so we get to dress up to that theme and get to wear a costume, and that's kind of like getting you like, oh, this class I get to show off my costume for this theme. And so just that kind of interacting point where you just get to be with the students.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And how about you, Isaiah? What's one request you can ask of your teachers?
I think personally, teachers are doing a fantastic job of handling the situation right now.
Thank you.
One thing that I would say that just like even before the coronavirus situation happened, even before it happened, it was a thing, but now during distance learning, I think it's gotten to be even more and more important, is empathizing with the students. Because if teachers can empathize with the students, then we're no longer thinking about the teachers as like people of our higher class or adults. We're thinking of them as peers themselves, as friends that you can talk to. And I think that's really important, because students should be able to tell teachers anything, because really teachers are generally amazing people, that like their job is to help people, and they do a really good job of it.
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. You know, Isaiah, I have to slightly disagree with one thing you said was being friends. And to me, it's not about being friends with my students, but to love my students like they are my children, right? Then if I possess that kind of view, then yes, I can talk to you like you are my son, or talk to you, Lindy, like you are my daughter. But I think what you and I have in common and see eye to eye with is that you're talking about human connection, especially now, right? That we do empathize with what we're going through. You're going through what you're going through, what I'm going through, and you're right. And Lindy, you talked about fun, right? It is important to have fun, especially around this time too.
Yeah.
And what about you, Elijah? What would you like to what's one request you have for your teachers?
Honestly, for my teachers, I really can't think of anything. I mean,
Okay.
at least my teachers are really good, at least A tier, and really, like if I don't know, for other teachers, I don't know what Isaiah and Lindy said. That's
Sure.
really good advice.
Did
And
that speak to you?
definitely listen to this podcast. Um,
To the webcast or the
or,
podcast?
no, to the webcast. I'm sorry. I keep forgetting that this is a webcast instead of a podcast. We're being recorded.
So-
people know my face now, so the government's after me.
So, one last question for all of you. What did you learn about yourself during this time? And did your teachers have a hand in what you learned about yourself? Lindy.
I think I learned that I'm very much of a person that's, I have to be in the class to make it easy for me to pay attention, because like in general, when you're in your home, there's things that are going around, like there are other people that aren't in the class that are kind of like doing other things. So I'm very much of an in-class person, that it's easy when you're surrounded by people that are also taking the class. And I would say I am also very much of a group work person than I thought I was.
Yeah, all right. And that's important because you're talking about something, teacher talk, collaboration, working with others. And I see that, and I'm glad, I'm pleased that you enjoyed that part. And thank you for acknowledging that, you are a better learner in the classroom. And how about you, Isaiah? What did you learn about yourself?
Something that I definitely learned about myself, Mrs. Yoon, is that I really need something to touch, because when you're in a classroom, there's the physical you being in a classroom that, I mean, like most things, we don't realize we had something until we don't realize that we like have something until that's great, until we really get it taken away from us. And unfortunately, one of those things is being there in the classroom and touching the desk and scooting your chair around and being with other people next to them and writing like stuff down on the paper with other people, taking notes in class, being there physically. And so one of the things that I've been doing to keep myself busy is I've been like fidgeting with Legos, like putting just two bricks back and forth on each other. Sometimes just like absentmindedly painting while listening, and it helps me focus. I know that it might be distracting for other people, but I get easily distracted, and if I can have my hands be doing something subconsciously, that means my head can focus on other things better, I think.
All right, good to know. Good to know, because there are a lot of learners who need to do that to be able to focus. So I'm glad that you learned that about yourself and what works for you. And how about you, Elijah? What did you learn about yourself?
I learned that I need to communicate. So I'm the kind of guy who never asks my teachers for help. Fortunately, back when we were actually in school in a physical room, you may have heard of it. It's called a classroom with a whiteboard where you draw stuff on it. So I learned that I typically don't really need to ask for help, but when I do need to ask for help, I just don't do it. I just refuse, and and sometimes that gets me into trouble, especially especially with remote learning. Like there are more problems that I really can't control, like my internet connection or just just finding stuff on school on finding the right information. Like it can be confusing, and not asking for help is costing me. So that is something I learned about myself, and I should really work on that.
Thank you. You know, all three of you shared a lot of important information with us teachers. And we're going to take what you learned or take what you shared and really think about it, reflect, and and um, and if we need to, where appropriate, change it, make it better, because that's what teaching is all about, is getting information about what we're doing and improving our craft. And so I found what you all three had to say was really, really poignant, important, and useful. And you have a lot of the teachers listening to you right now, and you're doing us a huge favor. You're doing us a huge favor by speaking honestly, openly, and we thank you for that. I thank you for that.
Well, thanks for having us on.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for agreeing to come on. So teachers, I hope this was an eye-opener for you as it was for me, and a great reminder of why we're doing what we're doing for them, for the students, right?
Hello.
Join me again.
We are the future.
Join me again on Teachers Help Teachers for another episode. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.